Today I want to talk about a little game that I've been interested in for, I think, almost over a year now. I saw this somewhere, just a preview, some I don't know, like convention footage. I forget which convention it was, might have been E3, or like Gamescom or something like that. But I was immediately intrigued by the art style of Apotheon, which I think is the right pronunciation of that. I might be wrong, but I'm just gonna say Apotheon, right? It sounds good. But anyway, as you can see, really interesting art style going on. But up until now, that was basically the only thing I was going by. Like, I was only excited for the game because of the very unique and very, like, focused art style. I really like how everything is tied together in this. There's nothing that really sticks out and feels off. Like even the UI and the map and stuff like that is very much based on this like Greek mythology. I don't know what painting style, right? It's really neat. Everything works like this in the game, at least from what I've seen so far, and I'd expect it to be that way. But it looks good. You gotta admit that. Looks really nice, this game. And that is probably something I won't have to talk about too much because, I mean, that is what you can see. Let's instead, during this video, talk a little bit about my first impressions. I played it for, I guess, like an hour approximately, and haven't played any further than that. So this is very much going to be my first impressions on the game, not like a review of any kind. So I don't know how it's going to turn out in the end, but from what I've seen so far, it has me very intrigued. I didn't expect it to be as exciting as that first like PlayStation of mine portrayed it. God damn, this game might be really fucking good. From what I've played so far, let's get down to what is probably the most exciting part about it. It feels, and I hate saying this, a lot of people overuse what I'm about to say, but it feels a lot like a Souls game, which it is overused. A lot of people now say, well, this is very much like Dark Souls, just because something is difficult and has, I don't know, like a nifty combat system. This is not so much difficult, but what I do want to stress is the combat system, and you will see more of that as we get closer to the end of this video. But you have, and this is really cool, you have basically two means of attacking, first and foremost, right? So you have your basic swing, and then you have a throw. So swing is R2, and your throw is R1. And all of this you can do with different weapons that you can switch out. You can see down in the bottom right I have my things, and right now they're actually showing me how to use the secondary throwing weapon. But you can also throw your primary weapon. And that adds a lot of depth, right? Because you don't just have to always swing at the guys, you can also chuck stuff at them. And then they vary that up additionally by giving you all kinds of different weapons. There's like knives you can throw, there's big spears that you can throw, there's like little axes you can throw, even bombs that you can throw, which is also somewhat reminiscent of a Souls game. You can even like break walls with that stuff, so you can probably see where I'm coming from there. And that is not it, which is so cool. I really like how surprisingly deep this all is, like the combat system. Because what you can also do while swinging is, depending on holding down your analog stick in a different direction, he varies it up. So if you hold it up, he does like an upward strike. If you hold it down, he attacks from below, does like kind of a uppercut thing, I guess. If you hold it like to your front, it's just like a stab attack. And that is super nice, right? Because I don't know, I wouldn't say that I dislike how often 2D games, at least, yeah, often I think is a good word, because there's definitely examples to prove me wrong, but a lot of the times 2D games have a very binary combat system, and this here has a lot of depth, and that is super cool. I'm not entirely sure how I like the fact that you have to like twin stick aim a lot of the stuff like you would in I don't know, I don't know, to maybe give a weird example, like a Geometry Wars maybe, where you control your guy with the left stick and then aim with the right analog stick. That feels a little too arcadey, maybe? I'm not entirely sure yet, but what I'm trying to stress is just how varied it all is, and weapons break as well, so there's durability on those, and you have to pick up all kinds of stuff, and you can also destroy crates where you find like I guess just resources that you can use, like crafting materials, I guess, that you can use for crafting bombs and healing potions and stuff like that. And you can also find new weapons inside of those, and also coins, which you can use to purchase new stuff. What you will see me do throughout this is also purchase like new armor and stuff like that. I really enjoyed how right out the gate they like made it evident that you are changing throughout this, right? It's not you stay that way the entire time, you pick up new weapons and that's it. But also your armor changes and how that affects your guy changes. And that is really cool. It's really promising. You might also start comparing it to like a Metroidvania type of game. I couldn't really confirm that yet, but it certainly has elements of that style of game. So like a very Castlevania, Metroid-y setup. For example, later in this demo, I guess is not really the best word for it, but later during this gameplay bit that I'm showing, you will see me destroy like a wall using a firebomb that I had just recently found at that point, and that is super nice. I really like that kind of stuff. It gives you a good sense of progression. I really enjoyed that. After half an hour I didn't look nothing like what I looked like when I started, really. I got like a helmet, got a shield later on, which is also cool. You can block, you can roll, which I haven't mentioned yet. So I think at the very least by now you can totally understand my Dark Souls comparison. There's a roll, there's different kinds of attacks, there's like fire bombs, there's blocking. It's crazy. And see, like, it didn't get me immediately, this game. Like during the first maybe like 10 minutes, which I guess is still what you're seeing right now, felt like maybe it's a little too floaty, and maybe, as I mentioned before, I wasn't too sold on the whole twin stick aiming thing. But towards the end of it, because they kept adding stuff, I started really enjoying my time with it, and I'm now super excited to keep playing it. And from what I've seen so far online, it's getting really good reviews, so chances are it's gonna stay that way. And the coolest thing, the thing that I probably should have mentioned right out the gate, but of course since I'm a noob and haven't made a video in 3 months, I forgot, but this is totally free right now for PlayStation Plus subscribers. So I guess in a sense it's not free, but you can download it for no extra cost right now if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. And if you are, do it. There's no harm done by downloading this, absolutely not. If anything, it's gonna be a very pleasant experience. Or not, and then it's just, I don't know, a game you can delete from your hard drive, I guess. But really, really cool. I'm excited to see how well this is gonna do, like in the long run, right? Because it's always weird when a game that is like just released is then also part of the PlayStation Plus program. I don't know how that is for the developers. Like, I would imagine they get some sort of payment by Sony. But afterwards, like, how many people are gonna pick this up and like properly pay for it? Because See, with indie games, oftentimes you find ones where you can see that they had very like good intentions and really wanted to craft something amazing, but maybe just budget wise or like art design wise they couldn't totally get to where their vision was at. But with this, so far at least, I don't have anything to complain about, right? I really don't. Gameplay wise, it's looking real good. Art style wise, it's looking real good. And I don't know about the story yet. I haven't played much, so I can't really judge what that's gonna be like. But maybe to already kind of spoil things, and this is not spoiling much, so if you still if you want to play the game yourself, maybe you want to skip a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about it myself really, and I'm really picky about like spoiler things. Picky is not the right word, but forgive me, I'm very German. So what I was trying to say is, what happens more or less at the end of this whole intro section is that you travel to Mount Olympus, right? And it then starts feeling a lot like a God of War setup. If you've never played God of War, more or less, you are after the gods, right? You want to kill the fuckers. And that is more or less what this game seems to present to you at that point. I can't really confirm much, but that's how far I've played, where you then are at Mount Olympus and kind of have to deal with things with the gods, right? So it then at least looks like it's gonna get a lot more open. This of course is like already a pretty open big town, but I was able to access a little like fast travel menu, pointing out the different locations that I was able to travel to. So you could see like a Hades there and other areas regarding like Mount Olymp. Is that even what you call it? I'm not too familiar with like English vocab regarding the Greek mythology, because I mean obviously growing up I would mostly pronounce all that stuff in German. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's always good to find out about that kind of stuff. But anyway, what else is there to say, really? I covered most of the things. Maybe we're now gonna take a like closer look at the gameplay as it's happening on screen. So I think right now what I'm about to do is enter the very last of these little like introductory objectives here in the town. And oh yeah, they now introduce the torch, which I know you're already thinking it even before I'm saying it out loud. Dark Souls. I guess more or less Dark Souls 2, much rather than 1, but yeah. Torches, and it's getting real dark. You can switch between your shield and the torch, so heavy inspiration there. And I think for you guys that enjoy Dark Souls, this should be a no-brainer, at least when it comes to checking it out. Like, even if you can't pick it up now, if you like don't have a PlayStation 4 yet or whatever, it's out on PC, so maybe that is an option there. But of course there you would have to pay for it, and even if you like later on get a PlayStation 4, you would have to pay for it obviously, but probably worth it. I don't expect this being much higher than like 15 or 20 euros, I guess in my case, or this should probably just translate more or less to dollars, so 15 or 20 dollars is what I would expect it to be. So yeah, already what I can say right here as we are approaching like the middle of the video, I would recommend it. So far, an hour in approximately, very much would recommend it. And what's interesting is this being a 2D game and having some similarities to the Souls series, it very much also then started reminding me of Salt and Sanctuary, as I believe it's called, which is also a game that is trying this, right? Is trying to be the 2D version of Dark Souls, which I guess is more true for Salt and Sanctuary than for Apotheon right here, because they actually like just said, we are trying to do this. We are trying to do a 2D Dark Souls. I don't think, at least as far as I know, that the Apotheon guys, Alien Trap Games or something like that, they're called, I think. I don't think they said outright that they are trying to make a 2D Dark Souls here. But yeah, Salt and Sanctuary is also coming out in 2015. So if you don't know what that is, I would recommend like taking a look at maybe like a trailer or something like that. But I'm also sure to cover it once it actually comes out, because it looks really interesting. It looks a little bit more amateurish, at least looking at the art style, but maybe that's just, I don't know, like me misjudging it by just having seen the trailers. But at least tonally and like atmospherically and stuff like that, it looks a lot more similar to what you'd expect a 2D Dark Souls to be, right? This, at least graphically, doesn't really invoke anything along the lines of that, just gameplay wise. But yeah, fuck, it's really nice. What we're doing right now is approaching more or less like the boss fight, the end tutorial boss fight. Defeat the tyrant is my mission right now. So we're gonna enter this house right here, and this is what I was talking about previously, where you throw one of those fire bombs to destroy the wall. So nice, like Metroidvania-y gating going on right here. And after that, we're just gonna ascend more or less to the very top of this temple, and then try to defeat that tyrant that we saw a little bit earlier. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the art style, because I would imagine that it's a little bit different just watching it. I think maybe watching it, it's gonna be a little bit more impressive than actually playing it, because as I was saying, during the first 10 minutes or so, I wasn't sold on it yet, because a little floaty at first, but then I started appreciating that, because there's some nice momentum stuff going on with it, and especially then later on finding out about the roll and the shield and stuff like that kind of grounded it more, which was really nice. But at first it all feels a little, I don't know, what's a good word for it? Like almost like you're controlling like a puppet, maybe even. And let me know how you feel about the art style, and also if you decide to check it out, let me know how you feel about the game after playing it a little bit yourself, because I would imagine that a lot of you are gonna dig this. I guess you kind of need yes, some sort of like acceptance for indie games. I wouldn't say everybody's into indie games. Sometimes, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but sometimes you read online, I don't know, maybe there was a new blog post on the PlayStation blog announcing a new indie game or something like that. And in the comments below, people just freak out about how they're like just continuously adding indie games and nothing but, and I want AAA games, what the fuck with the indie junk, who plays that shit? And it kind of upsets me. Like, it doesn't make me mad. Much rather it makes me sad for those people that think that way, because you are missing out. You're missing out, you guys. Just because something is indie and maybe doesn't have like the highest production value, that totally does not mean that gameplay wise there's nothing going on there. Oftentimes they're even the more innovative and then just fun games. I don't know, 2014 for example was a big year for indie games for me, like in my unofficial like top list that I kind of just have in my head right now. There were a few indie games in there. Just to mention a few, Transistor, really enjoyed that. And what was the other one? I totally had another one in there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about that at a later point in time, but I have learned to really appreciate the indie side of gaming, and there's a lot of cool stuff to be found there, and this might be like somewhat of a contender, I would almost say. Once again, just having played it a little bit, don't want to go out on a limb here and say this is fucking Game of the Year material, but if it can hold up what it promises, gosh, this might be really cool. To maybe kind of elaborate a little bit more on that whole like God of War comparison that I was drawing a little bit earlier. So as I was saying, you go to the Olymp, and I very quickly browsed through the trophies, and judging by that and just by the whole setup with the Olymp and stuff like that, it seems like you're gonna then like maybe obtain some of the powers of the gods and maybe some of their items and stuff like that, very similar to what you would do in like a God of War. So there's a lot of potential there for like them later on still varying up the gameplay, which is something I would very, very much like to see. I mean, already right here, I've gotten so much shit in like the past 20 minutes, all kinds of weapons, like an entire arsenal. Stuff keeps breaking, I keep switching it up, and also my gear, as you can probably notice, is significantly better. Now rocking a helmet, rocking a new shield and stuff like that, new chest piece and stuff like that. It's really, really nice. Do you want me to say stuff like that once again? Stuff like that. There we go. God, it's also very weird. Can I just very quickly mention this as we're now entering the tyrant fight on the top of this whole temple structure? It's very weird to be making a video again, as you probably have noticed if you are following the channel very closely. There wasn't much to follow during the past 3 months, so I might be a little bit rusty when it comes to my English and just overall commentary regarding video games and basically video games, I guess. There we go. See? Rusty. That is what I was describing. Immediately underlined that by giving you a very good example of that. But there's a reason for that, so very happy to once again be speaking to you. I will upload a separate video talking a little bit about why I was absent for so long. And yeah. Don't worry. I'm doing fine. I wasn't like sick or anything like that. I was just taking a creative break, you could almost say. Anyway, we kill the guy, gives us slow motion, gives us a bunch of items, and also very gruesome, the game, which is very nice, just in combination with the art style, right? Because Greek mythology is this really really gruesome thing most of the time. Like a lot of people getting their heads chopped off and torment forever in fucking I don't know where. A lot of legends, a lot of creatures, a lot of rape and killing and stuff like that. And this is also portrayed a little bit. I mean, not the rape so much, luckily, but you can see like Zeus' penis every once in a while, and there's blood. You can chop guys' heads off, I think. So very, very nicely drawn and just overall composed, looking at all the different aspects that would go into such a Greek painting style. God, I really like it. The animation oftentimes is also very like see, earlier I was using the word puppet. That is also probably a word that I would use for the animation style. They have like very exaggerated gestures, and when they talk for very long, they keep repeating, and that seems a little off as well. But I don't mind it too much. I think it somewhat suits. suits the art style, so I wouldn't complain about it too much. We are now talking to, what's her name again? Hera? I don't know. I'm not entirely... Oh, there we go. It is totally Hera. But I'm not entirely super informed when it comes to Greek mythology. The most stuff I just know by having watched Disney's Hercules and also, I guess, playing God of War. That is mostly it. And then maybe just a little bit other random tidbits from movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But she is now more or less recruiting us to go up against the gods, and she's warping us to the Olymp. And that is also where this whole gameplay thing is going to end. As you can see, I'm now flying up in the sky. I really enjoyed this sequence. I don't know. For whatever reason, it just once again points out how good this game is looking. I don't know. It very much feels like there's a lot of texture to it, despite it all being like this drawn thing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna conclude it now. Apotheon now very much available on PlayStation Network and also PC, I believe. Don't know about Xbox, really. Don't know about any other consoles and devices other than PC and PlayStation 4, but you can totally get it there, and you can get it for free currently on PlayStation 4 if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. And yeah, I'm very much excited to play more of this. I hope it's gonna hold up to my expectations now, which weren't really high going into this, but now having played it are through the roof. I'm really amazed by what it's offered so far, and I'm super excited to see where they're gonna take this. But judging by the reviews, once again, might be really nice. Might be a really nice game. And then later on, we'll start looking forward to stuff like Salt and Sanctuary to see how maybe they're gonna deal with this whole idea of making a 2D Dark Souls, and maybe then compare the two, which one was the more accurate. I guess not really a fair comparison to make, since this is not really aiming for that, but I'm excited. I like the idea of it, right? I really do like the idea of playing a 2D Dark Souls. I've wondered what that would be like for a very long time now, and I think they have a nice thing going here. This doesn't have the difficulty. I think maybe Salt and Sanctuary is going to be a little bit more accurate when it comes to that, but I don't like dislike Apotheon because it is not that difficult yet. If you were paying very close attention a second ago, I actually changed the difficulty to like heroic or whatever it's called, so that might then provide me with a little bit more like challenging situation there. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am very glad to once again have made a video. It's kind of crazy how long it's been, but yeah, this is Apotheon. Check it out. Do yourself a favor and check it out. Goodbye.